Chapter 2338, 1 vs 3. Are you alright? Xiongzong asked the blue-haired lady. Not a big issue. Fortunately, you guys are around. Otherwise, even if hadn't died from that strike, I'd be severely injured. Now, fear was in her eyes as she looked at Jian Wushuang. The earlier strike had indeed been dangerous. You killed Zhuge Yun first and almost killed a divine demon realm expert from our Xiong family. Brat, although I know nothing about your background, you will definitely still die today. Xiongzong was solemn and intense, killing intent gleamed in his eyes. Definitely die. By your hand. Jian Wushuang said with contempt. I alone would naturally not be enough. However, what if 3 divine demon realm experts were to team up? Xiongzong shouted. Team up. 3 against 1. Jian Wushuang furrowed his brows. Xiongzong took a glance at the 2 people next to him and said, this brat is the greatest uncertainty on the battlefield. Only by finishing him off can we achieve the outcome we desire. Let's team up against him. All right. The 2 divine demon realm experts from Xiong family nodded. The next instant, the trio struck at the same time. The 3 divine demon realm experts turned into 3 bolts of lightning as they charged towards Jian Wushuang. Scumbags. A short distance away, Zhuge Yunfeng was infuriated when he witnessed what was happening. 3 divine demon realm experts teaming up against a junior that isn't even 20 years old. The Xiong family is truly embarrassing. Shameless. Shameless. Some experts in the Lin mansion berated. However, the 3 divine demon realm experts from the Xiong family were unmoved. What a joke. Jian Wushuang had killed Zhuge Yun in a direct clash. Zhuge Yun was widely regarded as the #1 sword cultivator in Anzhou Prefecture previously. Although he had not reached the peak of 3rd-grade divine demon, he wasn't weak at all. Lin Taifeng and Elder Chen, who were both elite 3rd-grade divine demons, wouldn't be confident about killing him even if they were confident of suppressing or defeating him. Yet, he had still been killed by Jian Wushuang. This was a testament that Jian Wushuang wasn't any weaker than Lin Taifeng or Elder Chen. If they were to deal with an expert of this level, they would likely not end up any better than Zhuge Yun. Teaming up was the wisest decision. However, even though the 3 divine demon realm experts from Xiong family had teamed up, Jian Wushuang didn't feel any fear. When the 3 divine demon realm experts from Xiong family struck, Jian Wushuang made his move as well. He was like a spectre and he utilized his understanding of space-time rules of order to the limits. In the blink of an eye, he clashed with the 3 divine demon realm experts. The family head of Xiong family used a long purple staff. It was filled with overwhelming strength and smashed towards Jian Wushuang. The blue-haired lady was using a long black spear. She was just like a silent venomous snake, constantly going for Jian Wushuang's openings. The last expert was a burly old man with long hair. He was using a pair of red gloves. When clashing with Jian Wushuang directly, he was like 2 volcanoes that were constantly erupting against Jian Wushuang. Even when facing the powerful and daunting attacks of these experts, Jian Wushuang still appeared exceptionally composed. He put on a perfect display of swordsmanship. Each move looked casual and simple but was fluid and consistent. It was especially so for the unique essence of his sword techniques. Sometimes, he was fast and violent, while at other times he appeared soft and flimsy. This often threw his opponents off their tempo. His movements were even more creepy. With his space-time rules of order, the 3 divine demon realm experts from the Xiong family couldn't keep up with him at all. When Jian Wushuang had fought Zhuge Yun moments ago, he had not shown his sword principle at all. He had been just casually swinging his sword and yet was evenly matched against Zhuge Yun. In fact, some considered him to have an edge against Zhuge Yun. Now that he was using his full strength, he wasn't in a disadvantageous stage despite facing 3 opponents at the same time. The fighting raged on the battlefield. Jian Wushuang's battle with the 3 divine demon realm experts from the Xiong family was equally intense. The 3 divine demon realm experts used all their strength but still couldn't gain an upper hand against Jian Wushuang. 1 against 3 and they are evenly matched. Is this a joke? Those are 3 divine demon realm experts. When the surrounding people witnessed the battle, They were completely stupefied. The 3 divine demon realm experts from the Xiong family weren't elites among 3rd-grade divine demons. The family head of Xiong family, Xiong Zong, was only nearing the top-tier divine demons and was still a little inferior to Lin Taifeng and Elder Chen. However, this was 3 divine demon realm experts teaming up. Even Lin Taifeng and Elder Chen would have been suppressed against their coalition. Perhaps only a 2nd-grade divine demon could deal with 3 of them with ease. And now, the strength displayed by Jian Wushuang. Could he possess the battle strength of a 2nd-grade divine demon? But hes only at the chaotic realm. No one could believe what they were seeing. Indeed, if they had not seen with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed an early-stage chaotic realm could go against 3 chaotic divine demons at the same time. This wasn't possible. However, reality had proven otherwise. There's hope. My Lin family has hope. While Jian Wushuang was clashing with the 3 divine demon realm experts, those from the Lin mansion were feeling overjoyed. Lin Taifeng was especially so. Previously, he had been in despair. He had thought that the annihilation of Lin mansion was inevitable. But now, although Lin mansion was still in grave danger, the appearance of Jian Wushuang had given him a glimmer of hope. Disregarding all others, Jian Wushuang had killed a divine demon realm expert from the Zhuge family. Now, he was able to hold back 3 divine demon realm experts from the Xiong family. This was the same as the other party losing the battle strength of 4 divine demons. Only 3 divine demon realm experts from the Zhuge family and Xiong family were free. This was 1 fewer than in the Lin mansion. The pressure that the Lin mansion had to face had decreased substantially. Quick! Stop them. Stop the attacks of the Zhuge family and Xiong family. Stop them and our Lin mansion will have hope. Lin Taifeng growled like a lunatic. Some experts from the Lin mansion had become extremely excited as well. Initially, the majority of them had seen this as a hopeless situation. Some even thought of fleeing. However, strong battle desires had risen within them once again. They could see hope now. With the divine demon realm experts holding back, they just had to stop experts below the divine demon realm from Zhuge family and Xiong family. This made it a lot more possible for Lin mansion to survive. Kill! Kill! An earth-shattering roar reverberated through the air as the men from Lin mansion started their frantic counterattacks. Seeing this, Zhuge Yuanchong found it hilarious. A last-ditch struggle? How foolish. Kill everyone in the Lin family. Exterminate them. Chapter 2339, False Reincarnation Cleave. Die. The experts from Zhuge family and Xiong family were on a killing spree and clearly in higher spirits than those from the Lin family. Even though the Lin family had reversed her predicament in terms of divine demon realm battle strength, there were still huge differences between both parties' half-step divine demons and chaotic realms. It was especially so since Lin mansion had lost several experts at the beginning of the intense battle. Furthermore, some experts hired by Lin mansion had escaped when they started noticing things weren't going their way. Therefore, the Lin mansion was at a greater disadvantage in terms of half-step divine demons and chaotic realms than expected. In battle, it was common to see 2 to 3 similar cultivation-based cultivators attacking 1 Lin mansion expert. The only advantage Lin mansion had was the additional chaotic divine demon. The Zhuge family had arranged for 4 half-step divine demon to team up against him. This made it impossible for the additional chaotic divine demon to break away. Even though those from the Lin mansion had seen hope and had reignited their fighting spirits, the situation on the ground wasn't changing. Jian Wushuang was like a bow and the Blood Mountain sword in his hand was like the arrow as he thrust it out. The razor-sharp sword light clashed against the volcano-like fists of that burly old man. The overbearing force from the collision forced Jian Wushuang and that burly old man a step back. The next instant, Jian Wushuang moved and vanished creepily from sight. When he showed himself again, he was right next to the blue-haired lady and swinging his sword silently towards her. He had shown his mastery in sword principle. Even though he was facing 3 chaotic divine demons, he wasn't losing in any aspect. While fighting, he had seen the situations in other areas. He could tell the huge differences between both parties on the battlefield that couldn't be made up for. In terms of overall strength, The differences are too huge. Even if I kill Zhuge Yun and hold back 3 chaotic divine demons, it will probably not reverse the eventual defeat that awaits the Lin family. There's no other way. I have to take a further step. A cold, ruthless light gleamed in his eyes as he glanced at that blue-haired lady. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang's figure appeared before their eyes once again. The 3 divine demon realm experts from the Xiong family started out with the intention to kill Jian Wushuang. However, as the battle progressed, they were getting more and more fearful. And now, they weren't even confident of defeating Jian Wushuang in battle, let alone killing him. Is this brat really just an early-stage chaotic realm? The burly old man growled. He had never seen an early-stage chaotic realm that could knock him back with a single sword strike. Regardless, this brat has chosen to stand against our Xiong family. If our Xiong family can't erase him this time and he takes note of it, no one will be able to save our Xiong family, not even the Golden Cauldron sect. Xiong Zong roared. Kill him. We need a plan to kill him, the blue-haired lady remarked. How do we do it? The burly old man glanced at the blue-haired lady. The blue-haired lady and Xiong Zong quieted down. Yeah, how could they kill him? They weren't even confident about defeating him currently. How were they going to kill him? Moreover, they could tell Jian Wushuang had an extremely profound understanding of the space-time rules of order that even an ordinary third-grade divine demon wouldn't possess. In fact, even second-grade divine demon might not be at this level of attainment. With his grasp of space-time rules of order, no one probably could stop him if he intended to escape, not even with all the divine demon realm experts teaming up. At this juncture, shocking killing intent raged out from the eyes of Jian Wushuang. Immediately after, Jian Wushuang disappeared creepily before their eyes. Yes, he vanished. At the very least, they couldn't see him with their naked eyes. Even if they used their soul powers, they would barely catch a glimpse of an eerie figure. When Jian Wushuang showed himself again, he was next to the burly old man. Moreover, he slashed at the head of the burly old man at a speed that was incredibly fast. Be careful. Xiong Zong shouted as a warning. Brat! Don't be too full of yourself. The burly old man erupted and his scorching red right hand smashed towards Jian Wushuang like an active giant volcano. The direct clash of the volcano and the sword shadow didn't cause any collision of strength. That sword shadow disappeared together with Jian Wushuang before the watchful eyes of the trio. That's an illusion, the burly old man was stumped. An illusion left behind with space-time rules of order. Xiong Zong was equally astonished. However, his expression darkened instantly. Shit. When Xiong Zong reacted, he looked at where the blue-haired lady was. Indeed, Jian Wushuang was right in front of the blue-haired lady. At the same time, Jian Wushuang swung out his sword. Reincarnation sword principle, false. Reincarnation cleave. Wang. A blurry sword light lit up and sliced towards the blue-haired lady. The sword light was unusually fast, to the point that almost no one could react to it on time. However, the blue-haired lady was a chaotic divine demon after all. Although the sudden appearance of Jian Wushuang gave her a huge shock, she reacted immediately. She thrusted the long spear forward and wanted to block the blurry sword light that had been launched by Jian Wushuang. Her eyes were fixed on that sword light. I can make it. I can stop it, the blue-haired lady thought to herself. She could see her spear was in time to block that sword light. Just as expected, the black long spear went before that blurry sword light. Instantly, the blue-haired lady was at ease. Peng! The sword light had sliced her. As a chaotic divine demon, her holy body was extremely tough. However, it wasn't sufficient to stop this attack. In a single strike, her holy body collapsed and her consciousness was fading. Before it had even vanished completely, she was completely lost. Impossible. I did stop it. I stopped that sword strike. The blue-haired lady wanted to scream but couldn't enunciate her words. Soon, all signs of life deserted her. Even in death, the blue-haired lady couldn't understand how she had been killed by that strike. She had stopped that sword strike. At the very least, that's what she believed. In reality, she hadn't. False reincarnation cleave. Illusory and unfathomable. Jian Wushuang remained scarily cold while staring at the despairing blue-haired lady. It had been 19 years since he had been reincarnated. In those 19 years, he hadn't just been thinking of ways to recover to his cultivation base. In addition, his understanding of rules of order and advancements in sword principle had not lagged behind. On the contrary, they had improved by leaps and bounds. For example, in the aspect of space-time rules of order, he had made significant breakthroughs compared to in his previous life. He was just about able to create illusions using space-time rules of order. Even though they were illusions and some experts could see through them with a single glance, it was more than sufficient to fool an ordinary chaotic divine demon. Moreover, in the aspect of the space-time sword principle, he had created his first move, Snow Cleave. Chapter 2340, Defeat. Jian Wushuang's improvement in the aspect of spacetime had been rapid. However, his understanding of reincarnation rules of order in his previous life was even greater. Moreover, he had been through the reincarnation passage and been reincarnated. This had let him experience the mystery of reincarnation and was of unbelievable great help in his understanding of the reincarnation rules of order. As a result, his grasp of the reincarnation rules of order was the greatest it had ever been. His application of reincarnation power was several times stronger than in his previous life. In the aspect of sword principle, he had created the first move of reincarnation sword principle, the samsara. At 19 years old, he had created the second move. The second move was none other than the false reincarnation cleave. This was a sword principle that infused the reincarnation power. This move wasn't just strong. The more important thing was the illusion within the sword principle. The sword principle was the sword shadow that the blue-haired lady had seen previously. She had thought she could block that sword shadow with her long spear and she could have succeeded. However, unbeknownst to her, it was just an illusory shadow. The real strike was hidden before the illusion. A completely invisible strike. It was that strike that had killed the blue-haired lady. This blue-haired lady was the second chaotic divine demon that Jian Wushuang had killed in this battle. This time, he had done so when he was going up against 3 chaotic divine demons at the same time. How can this be possible? This, Xiongzong and the burly old man were shocked. They had seen with their own eyes how Jian Wushuang had killed the blue-haired lady and yet there was nothing they could do. Now, after killing the blue-haired lady, Jian Wushuang's cold gaze locked down on them. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang struck once again. This time, his target was the burly old man. Wang! A brilliant sword light illuminated the area. That brilliant sword light was mesmerizing and intoxicating. When he swung out that strike, even the void space was affected as ripples reverberated through. The surrounding spacetime seemed to have come to a halt at that moment. Spacetime sword principle, Snow Cleave. Arg! The burly old man exploded with rage and punched relentlessly. However, the sword light that Jian Wushuang had released was exceptionally strange. It flashed past his fist and landed on his holy body directly. The burly old man was strong in offense and incredible with his holy body. However, after taking this strike, he spewed a large mouthful of blood and his complexion paled instantly. Fortunately, he wasn't killed directly by Jian Wushuang. Retreat! Retreat now! Xiongzong shouted in a hurry. The burly old man wasn't silly. In the first instant, he retreated frantically and opened up a distance from Jian Wushuang. Moreover, he quickly met up with Xiongzong. Both of them had fixed their eyes on Jian Wushuang from a long distance away. The burly old man was at a loss for words. Moments ago, he had killed that blue-haired lady with a single swing. Now, he was injured in a single strike. How strong was he? Hes too strong. Perhaps his battle prowess has not reached the level of a second-grade divine demon. His sword principle is even more frightening than any second-grade divine demon I've seen, Xiongzong commented. Both of them were shocked and wouldn't dare to make a move on Jian Wushuang again. As for Jian Wushuang, he stared daggers at them. The next moment, he charged into the battle beside him. The battle between the half-step divine demons and chaotic realm experts was reaching a critical stage. Lin Mansion was clearly at an absolute disadvantage. One could even say they were doomed for destruction. Each Lin Mansion's expert had to face 2 or 3 experts of similar level at the same time. For example, Zhen Wushuang's father had to face 2 half-step divine demons. Looking at the situation, defeat seemed to be set in stone. However, Zhen Wushuang had appeared now. First, he appeared above Zhuo Yunfeng and a blinding sword light illuminated the area. The half-step divine demons that were engaged in an intense battle with Zhuo Yunfeng couldn't escape in time before the blinding light penetrated their bodies and killed them. Immediately after, Zhen Wushuang vanished. Xiu, 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 xiu. Sword lights were appearing across several battles in the Lin Mansion. Zhen Wushuang's movement was extremely unique. Each time he vanished and reappeared, a sword light shot out. No one could stop the sword light. Regardless if it was chaotic realm experts or half-step divine demons, no one could take a strike from Zhen Wushuang. Zhen Wushuang was killing an expert with each swing. After several dozen cycles of vanishing and reappearing, he swung out several dozen strikes and killed several dozen experts from Zhuge family and Xiong family. All of this happened in several instances and took no longer than a single breath of time. Within a single breath of time, he killed several dozen experts. If this carried on, retreat. Everyone from the Xiong family, retreat immediately. Xiong Zong gave his orders instantly. His face was flushed as he shouted to rush the experts from Xiong family. At the same time, he was filled with fear. Monster. This brat is definitely a monster. He isn't a simple monster and not just a god of death. The speed he is killing at is too fast. In several moments, several dozens of experts have fallen. My Xiong Zong accounted for 1/3 of the casualties. If we allow him to carry on slaughtering, our Xiong family will definitely be annihilated by them. Even we might not survive. The burly old man was shocked. If this was the case for the mighty chaotic divine demon, the half-step divine demons and chaotic realm experts were probably scared out of wits. When they heard the orders from Xiong Zong, those in the Xiong family chose to escape without hesitation. All of them were retreating rapidly, fearing they would be targeted by the god of death. The Xiong family retreated from the battle under the leadership of Xiong Zong and the burly old man. This left the remaining Zhuge family completely flustered. Damn it! Damn it! Zhuge Yuanchong roared furiously and couldn't vent the endless anger that was within him. However, as the leader of a family and a divine demon realm expert, he knew what the most important thing was at that time. With Xiong family evacuating, Zhuge family could still have an advantage in the number of half-step divine demons and chaotic realm experts. However, as Zhen Wushuang continued his indiscriminate slaughtering, this advantage was being chipped away. If they continued like this, Zhuge Yuanchong was certain that the doomsday of the Zhuge family would arrive soon. Evacuate! Evacuate now! Zhuge Yuanchong swung his hand and retreated through the air outside of Lin Mansion. The remaining experts from the Zhuge family and those few from Dongzhou sect didn't hesitate. In just moments, numerous experts that had fought their way into Lin Mansion had been erased cleanly, leaving just their corpses behind. Chapter 2341, Center of Attention in the Lin Mansion. Corpses were everywhere and blood stained the entire ground. In fact, even the sky was tinted a shade of red. The pungent smell of blood was nauseating and filled every corner in the Lin Mansion. The blood that was shed could have formed a river. Luckily, the killings had stopped in the Lin Mansion. At the top of a building, 2 chaotic realm experts from the Lin Mansion looked down at the surrounding scene. They couldn't help but pale. Who would have thought that we would survive this time, and that our Lin Mansion would manage to stop the joint attack from the Zhuge family and Xiong family? I couldn't believe it either. When the Xiong family showed up, I thought our Lin family was over. Yet, both of them remained silent but turned to face the same direction at the same time. It wasn't just the 2 of them. The various Lin Mansion's experts that survived were all looking in the same direction. In the air, a man was standing. A young man who looked way younger than the rest and was carrying a sword. He stood there coldly and the aura around him was kept in check perfectly. He didn't say a word but the atmosphere froze. Everything around him lost its luster. The entire Lin Mansion was shrouded in deathly silence. If there was a sound, it was the trickle of fresh blood that was dripping off the longsword carried by the young man. The crowd felt unprecedented shock and fear. Shock because he had displayed a strength that didn't match his age. Fear because he had committed a massacre within that short period. Everything had happened in a moment. Within 2 breaths of time, over 40 experts from the Zhuge family and Xiong family had died in his hands. In comparison, the total number of experts from the Xiong family and Zhuge family that had died over the entire battle was only 60. Among those that were killed, 2 dead chaotic divine demons were killed by that young man with the sword. "He's no different from the god of death," a half-step divine demon exclaimed. However, he shut his mouth for good immediately after. The other experts from the Lin mansion gasped in astonishment. They knew Jian Wushuang. It was also because they knew him that it was so hard for them to accept it. They knew Jian Wushuang was just 19 this year. No matter how talented an ordinary cultivator was, it would be incredible to exchange blows with a chaotic realm. What about Jian Wushuang? Killing peak chaotic realms was like killing chickens to him. Killing half-step divine demons was like slaughtering dogs to him. He had even killed chaotic divine demons. How unbelievable was that? Senior Sister Hua. The 2 half-step divine demons from Thunder Sound sect gathered beside Fire Fairy. One of them wanted to say something but ended up keeping quiet. "I know what you guys are thinking. I'm feeling the same way. It's unbelievable." Fire Fairy commented and felt unprecedentedly astonished by Jian Wushuang. "Senior Sister Hua, you are more experienced and knowledgeable about the talented disciples in Thunder Sound sect. Could the few most demon-like disciples in our Thunder Fire sect be a match for him?" the person asked. "Match him? What rights do our disciples have to compare with him?" Fire Fairy forced out a bitter smile. "He's an early-stage chaotic realm that has reached great achievement in sword principle, mastering space-time rules of order and reincarnation rules of order. Moreover, his grasp is extremely profound. It is especially so regarding the reincarnation rules of order. If I'm right, his understanding of reincarnation rules of order could even match a first-grade divine demon's. More importantly, he could easily kill a chaotic divine demon when he's just an early-stage chaotic realm. Hee. There won't be a second unprecedented monster like him in the entire Wuxia Baron region, let alone our Thundersound sect. His talents are just like his name suggests. Unparalleled in the world. At the very least, no one in the Wuxia Baron region could be a match for his talent." Fire Fairy was extremely solemn as she spoke. Although this was just her appraisal of Jian Wushuang, she was certain she hadn't exaggerated at all. Within the Wuxia Baron region, it was impossible to find a second person that could be compared with Jian Wushuang. Even in the greater absolute beginning divine world, one might not find a similar monster to him, let alone in the Wuxia Baron region. The 2 half-step divine demons from Thunderfire sect gulped down their saliva upon hearing Fire Fairy. They couldn't keep their composure any longer. Center of attention, Jian Wushuang was undoubtedly the focus of everyone. However, he looked extremely calm before the watchful eyes of the crowd. He had killed lots of people in this battle. One could even say he had started a massacre. However, the number of people he had killed over close to 100,000 years in his previous life easily dwarfed his kills today. A massacre like this was nothing and wouldn't affect his emotions at all. With this, the battle had concluded. He was still looking icy cold and remained exceptionally calm. He put away his Blood Mountain sword in his Chen Kuan ring before looking for his father and went towards him. "Father." Jian Wushuang looked at Zhuo Yunfeng and extended his soul power. He realized Zhuo Yunfeng had only suffered light injuries and wouldn't be in any danger. It was then that he felt relieved. As for Zhuo Yunfeng, he was staring blankly at Jian Wushuang. He was feeling a myriad of emotions. There was fear, ecstasy, and disbelief. Was this young man before him really his son? Killing peak chaotic realm and half-step divine demons like he was slaughtering chickens and dogs? Was this young man who killed 2 powerful chaotic divine demons really his son? Since when had his son grown to be so powerful? "Father, if you are all right, let's head for the Purple Virtue Hall first. Mother should be feeling really anxious now," said Jian Wushuang. "Yeah, You are right. It was then that Shui Yunfeng reacted. Let's go. We will look for your mother at Purple Virtue Hall first. Upon finishing his words, Shui Yunfeng and Jian Wushuang headed towards Purple Virtue Hall. Brother Zhuo, Wushuang, in his tone, that was slight fear and respect. The one who spoke was none other than the family head of the Lin family, Lin Taifeng. Lin Taifeng was an elite third-grade divine demon. However, even he was astounded by the strength Jian Wushuang had shown. Uncle Lin, we are going to see my mother at Purple Virtue Hall first. Let's talk in detail later, said Jian Wushuang. All right. You should. Lin Taifeng nodded and wouldn't interfere. Jian Wushuang and Zhuo Yunfeng left the place. However, those that were part of the intense battle previously were still feeling stupefied. They couldn't react fully to the situation. Chapter 2342, Gratitude Wang. The door to the hall opened and two figures darted in. Those two were naturally Jian Wushuang and Zhuo Yunfeng. Husband, Shuang. Seeing the two approaching figures, Luo Xinqin finally heaved a sigh of relief. She felt joy and rushed over. Xinqin, we are fine. We are fine now. Zhuo Yunfeng hurried forward and put his arms over Luo Xinqin. Before the crowd, Luo Xinqin quickly broke free and walked towards Jian Wushuang. Shuang, are you all right? Mother, rest assured. Although father has suffered light injuries, it shouldn't be a major issue. As for me, I'm not injured, Jian Wushuang replied with a smile. That's great. That's great. Luo Xinqin finally felt at ease. Everyone. Jian Wushuang surveyed his surroundings and still saw many disciples and family members who were anxious and worried. He shouted in a hearty tone, those from the Zhuge family are defeated. Lin Mansion is fine now. We are fine now. Did we make it? Yes. The commotion has died down. The battle is over. Haha. I knew it. The meager Zhuge family definitely couldn't do anything to our Lin family. Ecstasy took over and many young disciples even jumped for joy. Since the beginning of the battle, they had been living in fear. They had been fearful that they couldn't take the attacks of the Zhuge family and that their last resort would be to escape from Lin Mansion. However, it appeared that they wouldn't have to go to that stage. As such, they were naturally overjoyed. However, some chaotic realm around knew the series of events of the battle. Therefore, when they looked at Jian Wushuang, they were grateful and respectful. Jian Wushuang took a glance at Lin Dao and the man in black attire. Immediately, they looked over and greeted Jian Wushuang. Thinking back, they hadn't seen Jian Wushuang as anything when they'd first seen him. Although both of them had remained in the Purple Virtue Hall as guards throughout the battle today, they were aware of the entire battle through their soul power. They knew clearly the reason why the Lin family still existed after this battle and the people in the Purple Virtue Hall wouldn't have to go to their last resort. It was because of this man before them who was even younger than them. To think they had looked down on Jian Wushuang previously. With his own strength, he had forcefully turned the tables around and killed two divine demon realm experts. Moreover, within 2 breaths of time, he had massacred dozens of experts and sent chills down the spines of the experts from the two families. It was because of this that Lin Mansion remained intact now. Regardless of his talents or strength, Lin Dao, the man in black attire whom everyone had seen in the battle with their soul power, was impressed and convinced. Father, mother, let's leave this place, said Jian Wushuang. Yeah. Zhuo Yunfeng nodded his head. Soon, the family of 3 left Purple Virtue Hall and headed for the courtyard in which they were living. As for the rest of the Lin family, they cleaned up the mess of the major battle. Although the Lin family had survived this grueling battle, lots of experts had fallen. The Lin Mansion didn't celebrate wildly. All that was left was a bitterly cold environment. This had nothing more to do with Jian Wushuang. At night, the Lin Mansion went quiet. The corpses of experts and the river of blood that ran through Lin Mansion had been cleaned up. Many experts of Lin Mansion and a few from Thunder Sound Sect along with some invited experts had gathered in the meeting hall for a discussion. In the previous meeting, Lin Yang had dragged Jian Wushuang to an inconspicuous corner. In that corner, he hadn't have any rights to speak up. However, in the meeting just a few days later, Jian Wushuang was seated at the very front, next to his father, Zhuo Yunfeng. As for Fire Fairy from Thunder Sound Sect, she sat opposite Jian Wushuang. When Jian Wushuang took his seat, everyone's attention focused on him. This included people like Fire Fairy. They had a deep curiosity for this unbelievable, unprecedented monster. They wanted to know how Jian Wushuang could kill chaotic divine demons when he was just an early-stage chaotic realm. Moreover, he had killed 2 chaotic divine demons. Nonetheless, they kept their thoughts to themselves and no one dared to take the initiative to ask the question. When everyone had arrived, Lin Taifeng stood up, clasped his fist to his palm and announced solemnly, "This time, Lin Mansion is grateful for everyone's help in the face of the major crisis. It is because of you guys that we made it out. I'm truly grateful. It is especially so for Fire Fairy and others from Thunder Sound Sect, and also Mad Lion." Lin Taifeng thanked them individually. "You are too courteous. In this battle, our Thunder Sound Sect wasn't of much help," said Fire Fairy. She was just being humble. Although the main credit was owed to Jian Wushuang, her Thunder Sound Sect had contributed greatly. "I've received your fees and naturally have to fulfill your request. Lin family head, you just have to give me the remuneration as promised. Anything else will be unnecessary." Mad Lion had a different attitude towards this. "Mad Lion, you can be assured that my Lin family won't give anything less." Lin Taifeng chuckled and looked towards Zhuo Yunfeng and Jian Wushuang. He took a deep breath and became visibly more serious than before. "Brother Zhuo, and my dear nephew, the main reason why my Lin Mansion has survived is because of your help. I, Lin Taifeng, and my Lin family will never forget this gratitude. Please accept my thanks." Upon finishing his words, Lin Taifeng bowed towards Zhuo Yunfeng and Jian Wushuang before the crowd. "Brother Lin, this won't do. Please get up." Zhuo Yunfeng hurried forward to help Lin Taifeng up. "You and I are brothers in life and death. When your Lin family is in danger, it's only natural for me to help out. There's no need for this." "Yeah. Uncle Lin, this is just a small matter. Don't worry about it," Jian Wushuang added. "I won't dwell on this." Lin Taifeng shook his head and added, "From today onwards, my Lin family and I will never hesitate in anything you request as long as it is something within our mean." "Brother Lin, you are being too courteous again." Zhuo Yunfeng was visibly a little discontented. "Ha." Lin Taifeng laughed heartily. As for Jian Wushuang, he had a strange expression. "I still require lots of cultivation resources for my Punisher god. Although I asked my father, I still couldn't get everything I needed." As for the Lin family, Jian Wushuang had an idea sprouting in his mind. Chapter 2343, The Invitation from the Thunder Sound Sect in the Meeting Hall. "Brother Lin, what tray the losses for this battle?" asked Zhuo Yunfeng. At the talk of losses, Lin Tifeng's expression darkened instantly. After some time, he heaved a sigh and said, "The Lin family's losses this time are huge. Almost half of all half-step divine demons and chaotic realm experts have fallen." "Nearly half." Everyone in the hall gasped but soon understood the reason. Indeed, this battle had been too brutal. It was so even before Jian Wushuang made a move. The parties weren't equal from the beginning and the Lin family could only rely on having a greater number of weaker chaotic realms to make up the difference in strength. This undoubtedly increased the losses. If Jian Wushuang had been a tad slower, few half-step divine demons and chaotic realm experts would remain. However, this wasn't really the fault of Jian Wushuang as he had stepped in at a rather early stage. At least, it seemed that way to him. After all, he had lots of considerations to make. His greatest concern was the huge ruckus he knew he'd cause once he got involved. At that time, numerous sects and experts in the Wuxia Baron region had had their eyes on him. This wasn't something that he wanted. If it had just been an ordinary relationship, he wouldn't have stepped in. It was only because he had some connections with the Lin Mansion and his father was clearly friends of life and death with the Lin family that he had stepped in. However, he had now been pushed into the limelight. Wuxia Baron region is just a deserted and inconspicuous area. It shouldn't be an issue even if I'm a little famous here. The high and mighty masters of Holy Land in the absolute beginning divine world and other supreme experts won't pay attention to a small place like this. Nonetheless, I should keep a low profile. It's a shame that I can't do so even if I want to after this battle, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. In the hall, everyone was feeling sorry about the Lin family's losses. After this battle, my Lin family has suffered greatly. Most likely, we won't recover in a short period. Fortunately, my Lin family did not suffer any losses in terms of Divine Demon Realm experts. As long as we have 2 Divine Demon Realm experts stationed here, my Lin family will still be one of the 6 elite families in Anzhou Prefecture, Lin Taifeng remarked. Also, although my Lin family has suffered huge losses, Zhuge family and Xiong family aren't in much better shape. Their losses won't be lower than ours. Furthermore, both of them have lost a Divine Demon Realm expert each. For them, this is definitely a huge blow. After incurring such losses, they won't attack my Lin family again unless they are putting everything at stake. The surrounding crowd nodded in agreement. Within Anzhou Prefecture, there wasn't just the Lin family, Zhuge family, and Xiong family. The other 3 families had been observing the rest carefully. This time, the other 3 families hadn't made a move during the intense battle between the 3 families. This was because they wouldn't have stood to gain from it. However, with the 3 families incurring huge losses, if their conflict escalated further, the other 3 families would reap the most benefits by keeping out of it. Although the 2 families will start a war with my Lin family in the short term, they will definitely resent my Lin family. Also, Lin Taifeng looked at Jian Wushuang. Nephew Wushuang, this crisis is on my Lin family. However, it's because of your interference that the 2 families went home in defeat. Moreover, their losses are largely your doing. Therefore, the 2 families will definitely pin the blame on you and will even target you. Jian Wushuang raised an eyebrow and wasn't surprised by it. On the other hand, Zhuge Yunfeng became gloomy. Sensing the change in expression on Zhuge Yunfeng, Lin Taifeng said, "Brother Zhuge, you won't have to worry too much about it. Nephew Wushuang's strength is clear for all to see. Regardless of if it is the Zhuge family or the Xiong family, they will have to think carefully if they want to make a move on Nephew Wushuang. Moreover, you guys are still in my Lin mansion. If the 2 families dare to charge in, my Lin family will fight alongside Nephew Wushuang even if it means death. Even so, Zhuge family and Xiong family have been in Anzhou Prefecture for a very long time. Their backgrounds are extremely deep. Zhuge family is still manageable. The key is Xiong family. That's one of the most ancient and most powerful families in Anzhou Prefecture. If Shuang is targeted by the Xiong family," Zhuge Yunfeng frowned deeply. "Governor Zhuge, this is a really easy thing to handle. I have a solution in mind." The sudden voice came from Fire Fairy, who was opposite of Jian Wushuang. "May I know what Fire Fairy has in mind?" asked Zhuge Yunfeng. "It's really simple. With his talent and potential, all the sects in Wuxia Baron region, including the most elite sects, will be free for him to choose from if he wants to join one. In fact, those elite sects might even be willing to pay a high price to recruit him. He could just join one of them and all of this would be solved. He could even request that sect to annihilate the Zhuge family and Xiong family on his behalf. I believe those sects won't reject him," said Fire Fairy. "Good idea." Zhuge Yunfeng's eyes lit up. Everyone in the hall nodded in agreement. Clearly, they felt Fire Fairy was being reasonable. With Jian Wushuang's talents, it couldn't be easier for him to get into some powerful sects. With their protection, the 2 families in Anzhou Prefecture wouldn't be able to do anything to Jian Wushuang. Fire Fairy looked at Jian Wushuang and became humble in attitude and tone. She was a chaotic divine demon and a core disciple of Thunder Sound sect, but she couldn't put on any airs before Jian Wushuang. "Jian Wushuang, our Thunder Sound sect might not be an elite sect in the Wuxia Baron region, but we have a long legacy. Over these years, talents have been sprouting up frequently in our Thunder Sound sect and our influence in the Wuxia Baron region is getting wider and deeper. If you are willing, I can take you to Thunder Sound sect personally. Moreover, I can assure you that my sect master will take you in and guide you personally. Once you become a chaotic divine demon, you can even take over as the new sect master of our Thunder Sound sect. Jian Wushuang, are you willing? Fire Fairy looked at Jian Wushuang in anticipation. The surrounding crowd was stumped upon hearing Fire Fairy. They had to admit that the conditions given by Fire Fairy were truly enticing. Although the Thunder Sound sect couldn't be considered a top-notch sect, Jian Wushuang would be personally taught by the sect master. Moreover, he would be the next sect master once he became a chaotic divine demon and enjoy great powers. It was a really enticing offer. To recruit Jian Wushuang, the Thunder Sound sect sure was willing to pay a high price. Chapter 2344, Jian Wushuang isn't ordinary. Even Jian Wushuang was a little surprised. However, he laughed it off. Fire Fairy, if I'm not wrong, you aren't within the highest level in the Thunder Sound sect and don't have any decision rights. Could you really make the decision for the sect leader of Thunder Sound sect to guide me personally and ensure I will become the new sect leader in the future? Of course I can. Fire Fairy stood up immediately and said solemnly, as long as you are willing to return to Thunder Sound sect with me, you'll get whatever I've offered. In fact, it won't just end here. If you have any other requests, our Thunder Sound sect will also try to fulfill them. For example, if you are furious about Xiong family and Zhuge family, you could request our Thunder Sound sect to annihilate the two families. At that time, even if it meant going against the pact we have with other sects, we would still do it. What Fire Fairy was saying had not received the authorization from the highest level in the Thunder Sound sect. Nonetheless, she wasn't worried she had overpromised. This was because she knew Thunder Sound sect would see Jian Wushuang's talents and agree to do what was necessary. An ordinary talent or even an ordinary demon-like talent wouldn't be qualified to enjoy such privileges. However, Jian Wushuang would definitely be worth it. Jian Wushuang was a little surprised. However, he still shook his head and said, I'm sorry. I have no intention of joining any sect at this moment. Therefore, I regret to say I can't take you up on your goodwill. Hearing this, Fire Fairy couldn't help but be a little disappointed. However, she still forced a smile out and said, it's all right. However, I hope you will consider this again. As long as you are willing to return to Thunder Sound sect with me, I can guarantee that we definitely won't mistreat you. Yeah, I will think about it. Jian Wushuang was just paying lip service. This was also clear to the crowd who knew he had no intention of joining Thunder Sound sect at all. Even if the largest sect in the Wuxia Baron region offered him the same terms, he wouldn't be moved, let alone Thunder Sound sect. For him, the Wuxia Baron region was just too minute. In the hall, the group continued discussing things for a while before leaving. At night, Zhuo Yunfeng and Luo Xinqin were lying in bed. Both of them were still talking about the battle that had happened earlier in the day. Zhuo Yunfeng told Luo Xinqin about Jian Wushuang's performance in the battlefield, including how Jian Wushuang killed Zhuo Yunfeng, how he had killed another divine demon realm expert and severely injured another after he had been cornered by three of them. Luo Xinqin was totally engrossed in the story until Zhuo Yunfeng from beginning to end. Shuang killed two divine demons when he's just an early-stage chaotic realm, and he massacred a large number of half-step divine demons and peak chaotic realm experts. Now I understand why those people were looking at Shuang differently today, Luo Xinqin mumbled to herself. She was meticulous and hadn't missed the gazes that others had cast at Jian Wushuang. Yeah, Taoist priest Xian Shen is right. Shuang is truly unparalleled in this world. Among all the talents I know, I have never seen anyone as incredible as our son, Zhuo Yunfeng said with a bright smile. Clearly, he was overjoyed with his son's performance. Husband, I don't think Shuang is that simple, Luo Xinqin said seriously. He isn't that simple? What do you mean? Zhuo Yunfeng asked. Don't you think that our Shuang isn't that ordinary? Or rather, has a little too demon-like? Luo Xinqin asked. A little too amazing? Zhuo Yunfeng was astounded. Although I have never reached the chaotic divine demon realm and have never gotten into contact with one, I know clearly the impossibly huge difference in strength between a chaotic divine demon and a chaotic realm. If Shuang was a peak chaotic realm and successfully defeated or even killed a chaotic divine demon, who is just one level higher, I could still understand. However, Shuang is just an early-stage chaotic realm. It's unbelievable. Perhaps our Shuang is unique. I carried him for 9 years, 9 months and 9 days before he was born. Moreover, a divine sword descended from the sky at his birth. You could say there's never been such an incident before. Even so, it's unlikely he could be challenging all our senses of normality. Furthermore, just as you have mentioned, our Shuang's understanding of sword principle isn't simple. In fact, he has even reached great achievement. Moreover, his understanding in rules of order is unusually high, and he has even grasped 2 rules of order. Think about it. Isn't it strange? You know how old Shuang is. No matter how incredible he is, how could he grasp rules of order to this extent that he'd already be so well versed in sword principle? Asked Luo Xinqin. When you put it like that, it is indeed a little strange. If Shuang's rapid advancement in cultivation base could be explained by his talents, and his understanding of sword principle could be explained by the divine sword that descended at his birth, his grasp of the rules of order is overly high. I heard from Brother Lin previously that Shuang's understanding of the rules of order is even greater than the majority of second-grade divine demons. Zhuo Yunfeng furrowed his brows. Moreover, don't you think our Shuang has always been obedient and sensible since he was born? In fact, I would even say he's overly sensible, Luo Xinqin continued. That's true as well. Other than his constant refusal and stubbornness to not join other sects, has been extremely obedient. Since he was very young, I have hardly scolded him. He's also a little more knowledgeable than kids of other families. Zhuo Yunfeng nodded as he spoke. He's also way more mature than cultivators of his age. In fact, even you aren't a match for him, Luo Xinqin added. What? This time, Zhuo Yunfeng was truly astounded. Even him not a match? How can that be? What? You aren't willing to admit it? Luo Xinqin chuckled. You said it yourself. Shuang went on a killing spree today and didn't just kill 2 chaotic divine demons. He also killed a large number of half-step divine demons and chaotic realm experts within an extremely short period. Yet, he was exceptionally calm and composed after that. Although I don't know what he was thinking, he wasn't showing any signs that he was affected. Tell me, could an ordinary 19-year-old be so calm after experiencing a frenzied massacre like this? If it had been you, are you sure you could have kept your emotions in check after killing 2 chaotic divine demons? This, Zhuo Yunfeng was at a loss for words. However, he had to admit Jian Wushuang had been a little too composed today. After killing so many powerful experts, he gave off a feeling like he'd just been killing some ants. Zhuo Yunfeng wasn't confident in himself having this level of composure. Chapter 2345, Luo Xinqin's conjecture. Xinqin, even if what you said is right, that his growth is full of mysteries and his maturity is way beyond an ordinary person's, what would this prove? Zhuo Yunfeng was puzzled. Husband, I heard of a legend. Luo Xinqin looked to Zhuo Yunfeng before continuing. It is said that the super-existence that stood at the top of our absolute beginning divine world is known as the Master of Holy Land. They have amazing means that can even shock the world. With a single thought, numerous experts can be annihilated. With a single sentence, trillions of divine demons will bow down in submission. Some even say they could communicate with heaven's will, reverse space-time and even resurrect the dead. Besides that, it is said that once someone reaches a certain level of strength and is facing limitations in making a further advancement, they can request the experts at the level of the Master of Holy Land to open up a reincarnation passage. From there, they will be reincarnated and reborn in this world. Reincarnated? Zhuo Yunfeng was stupefied. You are saying our Shuang was sent back to this world by an expert that stands at the top of our absolute beginning divine world? That's just my guess, but I think it's very likely. From what I read in the ancient text, the explanation of reincarnation is that once the process is successful, one will lose all his strength and have to start cultivating from the very beginning. However, one will keep all the memories of the previous lifetime, including the rules of order and understanding of the sword principle that one has mastered. In other words, other than their cultivation base, other aspects of one's strength will remain at their peak state from the previous life. Under such circumstances, one can cultivate extremely quickly. This is because one won't face any bottleneck and just needs the accumulation of divine power. This can also explain why Shuang has been able to reach the chaotic realm in less than 20 years and why his understanding of sword principle and rules of order is so insanely high. As for why he can kill divine demon realm experts as an early-stage chaotic realm, it's also reasonable. This is because he might be an expert that stands at the top of absolute beginning divine world and have means that far exceed what we can imagine. Similarly, this might be the reason why he never wanted to join those sects when he was young. Those that you have chosen for him are just known within the Wuxia Baron region, and the strongest is only chaotic divine demon or an expert above this level. A sect like this won't attract the attention of Shuang, Luo Xinqin said. She was reasonable in her conjecture and extremely close to the truth. For example, it was a known fact that Jian Wushuang wasn't interested in those sects. However, what she didn't know was that Jian Wushuang wasn't reincarnated from the elite experts of absolute beginning divine world. He had only been at the peak chaotic realm in his previous life as well. In the end, he had only made the breakthrough to the chaotic divine demon after he had made his way to the reincarnation passage. Therefore, one wouldn't say he had had a high cultivation base in his previous life. The reason why he was so strong was because of his understanding of sword principle and rules of order. However, more importantly, it was because he was a perfect chaotic life form. No, I still can't believe this. Upon hearing Luo Xinqin, Zhuo Yunfeng shook his head profusely. What you have said is just too mysterious. Master of Holy Land? An expert that is resurrected after death? Reincarnation? Those are just legends and might not be real. How can we be sure that Shuang is reincarnated from an elite expert with just these conjectures? I can't be sure as well. I'm just basing my conjecture on some observations. As for the aspects of reincarnation, I saw them in an ancient book. However, I'm not sure if the records are true or false. Perhaps I'm just overthinking. Luo Xinqin chuckled but turned serious suddenly. Regardless of if my guess is right or wrong, whether Shuang is the reincarnation of an expert, He's still my son. I carried him for 9 years, 9 months and 9 days before giving birth to him, and he calls me his mother. Yeah, regardless of the secrets surrounding him or if he truly has some incredible background, He's still our child and will always be. Zhuo Yunfeng also nodded his head with conviction. Neither of them would doubt their own child. Even if Jian Wushuang seemed a little extraordinary, they would still recognize Jian Wushuang as their child. Alright, it isn't early now. Let's get some rest, Zhuo Yunfeng said lovingly. You too. Luo Xinqin smiled sweetly and both of them fell asleep soon after. In a huge mansion, many experts from the Zhuge family had gathered together. However, regardless of if they were experts from Zhuge family or Elder Chen and others from Dongzhou sect, they all looked extremely bitter. We have failed. To annihilate Lin family, our Zhuge family planned meticulously for years. We even hired the Xiong family without regard for the cost. Yet, we returned in defeat because of a brat that isn't 20 years old. Even the ancient elder died in that battle. Zhuge Yuanchong clenched his fist tightly. His razor-sharp fingernails even sunk into his flesh and blood was oozing out. The experts from the Zhuge family exchanged glances and shook their heads. Jian Wushuang. It's all because of Jian Wushuang. Zhuge Hong bellowed. Although he hadn't participated in that battle, he had been watching it from afar. He knew what had happened in that battle. Initially, our Zhuge family was about to annihilate the Lin family with the Xiong family. In the end, Jian Wushuang stepped in and all our efforts went to waste. He even killed the ancient elder. Jian Wushuang must die. Zhuge Hong growled. Don't be rash, Elder Chen interjected. What? Elder Chen, could it be you are saying Jian Wushuang shouldn't be killed? Zhuge Hong looked over. The experts of the Zhuge family, including Zhuge Yuanchong, also turned to Elder Chen. Jian Wushuang had killed Zhuge Yun and numerous experts from the Zhuge family. This had made their efforts over the years to go down the drain. They naturally wanted revenge and to have Jian Wushuang killed. You are right, Jian Wushuang should die. However, that's only if there's an opportunity. It isn't just you guys that want him killed. However, We aren't capable of killing Jian Wushuang now. At the very least, with our strength and even if we can count on the Xiong family, it won't be enough. As for requesting our sect to send more experts, that's not possible. Our Dongzhuo sect has a pact with other sects and can't send that many experts in a conflict between families. In other words, we can't do anything to Jian Wushuang now. However, Jian Wushuang has the ability to annihilate the Zhuge family or even all of us, Elder Chen said solemnly. Chapter 2346. Hatred. Elder Chen's words plunged the experts of the Zhuge family into silence. They didn't want to admit it, but what Elder Chen had said was the truth. If it was just the Zhuge family, killing Jian Wushuang would be impossible. However, if Jian Wushuang wanted to deal with the Zhuge family, it would be too easy. If he joined any sect and requested for the Zhuge family to be annihilated, it would be a nightmare for them. Elder Chen, do you have an opinion? Zhuge Yuanchong looked over. Simple. Your Zhuge family shall forget the hatred you have for Jian Wushuang and never speak of revenge again. In fact, if possible, it would be best for you to head over personally and apologize to Jian Wushuang, Elder Chen said. Apologize? Impossible. Zhuge Hong exploded. Jian Wushuang killed so many experts of our Zhuge family and our ancient elder even died at his hand. Not seeking revenge is one thing, but now we have to apologize to him. If this gets out, won't our Zhuge family lose all face? Elder Chen squinted his eyes and didn't say another word. As for Zhuge Yuanchong, his views and exposure weren't ordinary as the family head. Hearing Elder Chen, he pondered for a moment before speaking. Forgetting the hatred shouldn't be an issue. Our Zhuge family doesn't have the strength to seek revenge against him as well and naturally won't go and offend him. However, if we have to apologize to him, we aren't at that stage yet. Family head Zhuge, are you thinking of Xiong family? Elder Chen looked over. Yeah. Zhuge Yuanchong nodded. In this battle, it isn't just our Zhuge family that has suffered huge losses. The Xiong family has as well. Similarly, Xiong family lost a divine demon to Jian Wushuang and the Xiong family will definitely hate him to their cause. Moreover, different from our Zhuge family, Xiong family is standing at the top of the 6 elite families in Anzhou Prefecture. They are also more overbearing in their actions. Also, the Golden Cauldron sect that is behind the Xiong family is very dominant. From what I understand, a genius from the Xiong family joined Golden Cauldron sect years ago. He's probably an enforcement elder in Golden Cauldron sect by now and happens to be the biological younger brother of the divine demon that Jian Wushuang killed. Summing everything up, Xiong family will definitely not let this rest because of Jian Wushuang's talents. If I'm right, that enforcement elder in the Golden Cauldron sect that is from Xiong family will definitely attend to this personally. An enforcement elder from the Golden Cauldron sect? Elder Chen squinted his eyes. Although the Golden Cauldron sect wasn't the most elite sect in the Wuxia Baron region, it was still stronger than the Dongzhuo sect. An enforcement elder in Golden Cauldron sect wouldn't be considered high level in Golden Cauldron sect, but they would still have a level of authority and status that an ordinary chaotic divine demon could compare with. Moreover, from what Elder Chen knew, an enforcement elder in the Golden Cauldron sect would typically be a second-grade divine demon. In other words, the Xiong family might get a second-grade divine demon to come for Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang is extremely strong. Even when facing the 3 divine demon realm experts from the Xiong family, he still could kill one of them and severely injure another. Among third-grade divine demons, he is likely to be at the very top. However, if he is to compare with a second-grade divine demon, there should still be some distance. If the second-grade divine demon from Xiong family is to go all out, he will very likely be able to kill Jian Wushuang. Also, if I'm getting this right, the half-step divine demon, Yang Q, that I paid a hefty sum to invite from Water Fairy Island, has probably died at his hand rather than that of the Lin family, said Zhuge Yuanchong. Yang Q? It can't be. Jian Wushuang was just at the Pure Sun realm then. Zhuge Hong blurted out automatically. He's just an early-stage chaotic realm now and didn't he kill chaotic divine demons easily? Zhuge Yuanchong took a glance at Zhuge Hong. Zhuge Hong was stunned but forced a bitter smile. If that is the case, the Water Fairy Island will likely have their eyes on him as well. Zhuge Yuanchong smirked and said, in that case, I'll inform Water Fairy Island about Jian Wushuang. I believe they will be very interested in him as well. And once he is targeted by the second-grade divine demon from Xiong family and Water Fairy Island, he will most likely meet a sorry end. At that time, our Zhuge family can just watch from the side. If Jian Wushuang dies, everything will be resolved and our revenge will have succeeded. However, if he survives under such circumstances, we will visit them the very next day to apologize personally. Upon hearing this, the other experts in the Zhuge family exchanged glances and nodded their heads forcefully. Indeed, if the Zhuge family lowered their heads and apologized to Jian Wushuang now, they would lose all face. However, if Jian Wushuang survived the second-grade divine demon from Xiong family and Water Fairy Island, all the other families in Anzhou Prefecture would only see it as a natural thing to do. They wouldn't mock the Zhuge family. This was because Jian Wushuang would truly be someone they couldn't afford to offend then. Let's go with this for now. Relay the message to all experts and disciples in our Zhuge family to be more honest in their actions for now, Zhuge Yuanchong instructed. Yes. Just as Zhuge Yuanchong had expected, the Xiong family was raging with anger. Many experts in the Xiong family were vengeful. This time, the Xiong family had suffered huge losses. It was especially so as a chaotic divine demon had been killed. Even for the Xiong family, this was a huge blow. Family head, we have heard from Xiong Yi. He's currently on dangerous ground with several other divine demon realm experts. He has to finish the mission issue by Golden Cauldron sect before he can return, the divine demon realm burly old man said. Did he say how long he would take? Xiong Zong asked. His sister's death is a huge blow for him. His killing intent is alarming. Once Hez finished the mission, he will not return to Golden Cauldron sect. Instead, he will rush here immediately. Also, those divine demon realm experts that were with him for the mission might come along as well. In terms of timing, he said it would take 3 months at the very most. If he is lucky, he could be back at Xiong family within 2 months, the burly old man said. 3 months. All right then. We will wait patiently for 3 months. Once Xiong Yi returns after 3 months, we will kill our way into Lin Mansion and shred Jian Wushuang into 1,000 pieces to appease the experts from our Xiong family that died in battle. However, we must send people to keep an eye on Jian Wushuang, especially those whom he has gotten in contact with. I'm worried he might join some sects in the 3 months. Once he has the protection of a sect, it won't be that easy for us to deal with him. Chapter 2347, Secret Skills Mastered. From this day onwards, the Xiong family paid careful attention to Jian Wushuang's whereabouts. However, shortly after that battle ended, Jian Wushuang shut himself away in cultivation. He was still in the Lin Mansion but had gone to Lin Taifeng to request some cultivation resources that he required. The Lin Mansion felt sincere gratitude toward Jian Wushuang. Now that Jian Wushuang had requested some cultivation resources, Lin Mansion naturally tried their very best to gather them. After a few days, Lin Mansion completed gathering these resources. Relying on these resources, Jian Wushuang started cultivating the secret skill of 7-star, Punisher God and Exquisite Pagoda. Time passed rapidly and soon it was 3 months later. Within the meeting hall of Lin Mansion, over the last 3 months, the Zhuge family has been a lot more honest and not resorted to any underhanded means. Moreover, they have been restricting their disciples and experts, Lin Ao commented. They aren't silly and know that, if they continue in this way, they'll perish with the Lin family, Lin Taifeng sneered. Although the Zhuge family doesn't seem to be doing anything, the Xiong family has been active over this period, Lin Ao reported. Xiong family? Lin Taifeng was surprised. Compared to the Zhuge family, he was more fearful of the Xiong family. After all, the Xiong family had a deep background and was considered to be among the top of the 6 elite families. They were also substantially stronger than the Zhuge family and Lin family. Moreover, the Xiong family had always been domineering. Now that they had suffered under Lin family, it would probably not be possible for them to let this slide. At this moment, swoosh, a figure darted in. Family head, we have got news from the Xiong family that Xiong Yi is back, Lin family's elder reported anxiously. Xiong Yi. Lin Tifeng's expression darkened instantly. Xiong Yi from the Xiong family? Fire Fairy also furrowed her brows. I heard of Xiong Yi previously. He's an enforcement elder of the Golden Cauldron sect and a true second-grade divine demon. Second-grade divine demon? All the experts around gasped in surprise. In a place like Anzhou Prefecture, a chaotic divine demon would be an overlord-like existence. Even within the Wuxia Baron region, they could be considered experts. This was because they were only a handful of experts that were above the chaotic divine demon realm. However, chaotic divine demon realm could also be separated into distinct classifications. For example, the lowest level would be third-grade divine demon. This was the most ordinary divine demon, and divine demon realm experts in various families of Anzhou Prefecture were almost certainly third-grade divine demons. For example, the one in charge of Zhuge family and Lin family would be at this level. Lin Taifeng could barely be considered an elite among third-grade divine demons. As for second-grade divine demons, they were above third-grade divine demons. Their overall strength was substantially stronger as well. As for first-grade divine demons, they were even more powerful. In various sects throughout the Wuxia Baron region, first-grade divine demons were extremely rare. They were all influential figures possessing great authority. Also, there seemed to be a class known as strongest divine demon above the first-grade divine demon. It was just that they were pathetically few and therefore the classification wasn't often used. Without a doubt, a second-grade divine demon would be invincible in a place like Anzhou Prefecture as long as the commandery governor didn't get involved. Xiong Yi is definitely after Jian Wushuang. This is going to be trouble, Lin Taifeng commented solemnly. The experts around Zhuo Yunfeng were equally distraught. Quick! Let's inform Jian Wushuang first. Ask him to stop his private cultivation and come out, Lin Taifeng instructed. Jian Wushuang had been in secret room in Lin Mansion for the last 3 months. Although he had his eyes shut, he wore a faint smile. Moreover, within his consciousness sea where boundless soul power gathered, a transparent and exquisite pagoda was forming gradually. The pagoda wasn't huge but had enclosed all of Jian Wushuang's soul power. If there was an incoming soul attack, it would have to break the defense of the pagoda first. However, the defense of the pagoda was extremely tough. The exquisite pagoda is the move that focuses on soul defense among the 5 great secret skills of the 7-star Black Sec. Although this is just the first tier and is only capable of preliminary soul defense, it will be sufficient to deal with soul attacks from some experts. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes and his smile deepened. For cultivators, the soul was the core. The protection of one's soul was naturally an essential thing. In his previous life, he had tried all means to increase the defense of his soul. In the end, he had obtained the 5-gem armor and soul-swallowing pearl. Those had greatly enhanced his soul defense and therefore allowed him to run amok easily. In this life, despite losing his treasures, his soul defense could be considered powerful with just the exquisite pagoda. Other than the exquisite pagoda, I have also mastered the first scroll of secret skill of 7-star with those cultivation resources. In the aspect of Punisher God, I could also form a god statue of 1,000 feet. With both secret skills, my battle strength has increased exponentially. Also, in the 3 months of cultivation, my divine power has become purer and powerful. Jian Wushuang clenched his fist and was feeling the visibly stronger power he possessed. Undoubtedly, he was way stronger than he had been 3 months ago. If he had been feeling some stress facing the 3 divine demons from the Xiong family previously, it would be like a walk in the park now. At this moment, he received a message from his father. Oh, there's news from the Xiong family? Jian Wushuang raised an eyebrow and left the secret room for the meeting hall. In the meeting hall, numerous experts of the Lin Mansion, including some experts that were invited, had gathered. Naturally, a large number of experts had left after receiving the promised remuneration for the battle against Zhuge family. Among them was the Mad Lion. Father. Jian Wushuang walked to Zhuo Yunfeng and greeted him. As for the rest, He simply glanced at them in a gesture of acknowledgement. No one in the meeting hall would find Jen Wuxiang to be arrogant. Nephew Wuxiang. Lin Taifeng was the first to speak. You spent the last 3 months cultivating behind closed doors. Now that you are out, I believe you are a lot stronger than before, right? Everyone in the meeting hall turned towards Jen Wuxiang. For an ordinary cultivator, 3 months was an extremely short period. It was impossible to achieve huge improvements within 3 months. However, Jen Wuxiang was different. He was an unprecedented, demon-like genius. Although only 3 months had passed, the experts were expecting a surprise from Jen Wuxiang. I guess a little. Jen Wuxiang answered directly. Only a little. Lin Taifeng was visibly disappointed. Chapter 2348. Come out and die. Lin Taifeng was hoping Jen Wuxiang could make some advancements in the 3 months. For example, if he made a breakthrough in his cultivation base to the middle stage chaotic realm, he would have some means to go against Xiong Yi. However, it was clear that he was a little too optimistic. Giving it more careful thoughts, no matter how demon-like a genius was, how great of an advancement could he get through closed-door cultivation within a short period of 3 months without any major chance encounter? Why is everyone looking so worried? Has something bad happened? Asked Jen Wuxiang casually. Nephew Wuxiang, we have just received news that Xiong Yi is back, answered Lin Taifeng. Xiong Yi? Jen Wuxiang was puzzled and clearly had not heard of Xiong Yi. Xiong Yi is a genius of Xiong family that headed for the Golden Cauldron sect a long time ago. He's now an enforcement elder in the Golden Cauldron sect and a true second-grade divine demon, Shui Yunfeng explained. I see. Jen Wuxiang understood. It was not surprising that everyone in the Lin mansion would be so concerned about a second-grade divine demon returning. In the previous battle, although Jen Wuxiang had been able to kill one of the 3 divine demon realm experts who had teamed up against him, it didn't mean that he was able to match a second-grade divine demon. Is Xiong Yi coming for me? Asked Jen Wuxiang. Yeah. It isn't just that. Based on the information we have gathered, there will be several other divine demon realm experts from Golden Cauldron sect that will be returning with Xiong Yi. If things go as expected, they will make a move soon and head for Lin Mansion, Lin Taifeng remarked. Oh. That will really be a little troublesome, Jen Wuxiang mumbled to himself. A second-grade divine demon would be much stronger than a third-grade divine demon. If he had to face a second-grade divine demon alone, he would experience some pressure as well. Moreover, several other divine demon realm experts from the Golden Cauldron sect would be with Xiong Yi as well. Wuxiang, there should be 2 paths ahead of you now. A gentle voice sounded and it was Fire Fairy who was speaking. First, you can take your parents and leave the Lin family and Anzhou prefecture immediately. This is a personal feud between the Xiong family and you after all. Since you have not offended Golden Cauldron sect directly, they won't go after you with all their strength. All you need to do is to avoid them for some time and they won't do anything to you. Second, you can agree to our Thunder Sound sect's invitation. The conditions haven't changed. I can send a message to the higher management of our Thunder Sound sect to get them to send experts over as soon as possible. Even if they can't make it in time, I'll get our sect leader to send a message to the Golden Cauldron sect to protect you. Although our Thunder Sound sect might not be comparable to the Golden Cauldron sect, they will likely respect us for such a small matter if our sect leader requests for it personally. This would be your final 2 options. Even if you want to join other sects, there will probably be insufficient time. Fire Fairy's analysis was on point and the surrounding crowd nodded in agreement. From their perspectives, these were the only 2 options left for Jen Wuxiang. However, Jen Wuxiang shook his head after listening to Fire Fairy. The first option is no different from acting like a defeated dog. As for the second option to join Thunder Sound sect, there's isn't such a need there either. Wuxiang. Fire Fairy was slightly surprised. Shuang. Zhuo Yunfeng couldn't help but look at Jen Wuxiang. Jen Wuxiang waved his hand and said, It's just Xiong Yi, he still can't force me to flee. There's no need for Thunder Sound sect's protection either. If he wants to kill me, He can just come for me. Everyone in the hall was puzzled. Wu Shuang, this concerns your life. You shouldn't joke about it. Moreover, Xiong Yi is a true second-grade divine demon and is a lot stronger than the third-grade divine demon you fought previously. Fire Fairy tried to convince Jen Wuxuang. I understand. However, I know what I'm doing. If I really am not a match for Xiong Yi, it won't be too late to join Thundersound sect then, Jen Wuxuang commented casually. But, Fire Fairy wanted to say something but gave up after thinking about it. Since you are so confident, I won't try to convince you otherwise. Family head. The elder from Lin Mansion entered again and reported, we have news on the Xiong family. Xiong Yi and a few others from Golden Cauldron sect are heading our way under the leadership of Xiong Zong. So soon? Lin Taifeng was astounded. He just arrived in Xiong Mansion today and has already heading for our Lin Mansion. He gnashed his teeth before continuing, relay my orders. Inform all our Lin Mansion experts to get ready for battle. Yes. That Lin Mansion elder sent down the message swiftly. Nephew Wu Shuang, this incident started because of Lin Mansion. Our Lin Mansion won't leave you aside. We will definitely stand with you, said Lin Taifeng. Thank you, Uncle Lin. Jian Wuxuang smiled with gratitude. However, he wasn't too concerned. Those that were coming for him were just experts at the chaotic divine demon realm. Jian Wuxuang wouldn't care even if he did not have help from the Lin Mansion. In the Lin Mansion, everyone looked extremely solemn. Only the party involved, Jian Wuxuang, appeared to be casual and at ease. He sat on the chair, closed his eyes to rest, and didn't seem to be panicking at all. Seeing this, the experts in Lin Mansion could only whisper in secret. Half a day later. They are here. Jian Wuxuang opened his eyes abruptly and looked out to the faraway sky. Through his soul power, he sensed the arrival of several powerful auras. Other experts in Lin Mansion sensed them soon after. Jian Wuxuang, come out and die. An angry roar reverberated through the sky above Lin Mansion. The voice was deafening and everyone within the Lin Mansion could hear the angry roar clearly. Who are you? How dare you try to provoke young Master Wuxuang? Young Master Wuxuang is someone who can even easily kill chaotic divine demons. Even our family head treats him with the utmost respect. Which unruly and ignorant fool dares to make young Master Wuxuang come out and die? Quick, let's go take a look. Numerous experts and disciples of Lin Mansion were alarmed. Many of them moved and appeared in the sky. These experts and disciples from Lin Mansion were all glowering at the few people who had gathered before the Lin Mansion's main doors. Since the huge battle 3 months ago, Jian Wuxuang's standing in Lin Mansion had reached an unbelievable level. Almost all the disciples and even experts of the Lin Mansion had the utmost fear and respect for Jian Wuxuang. And now, hearing others shamelessly ask Jian Wuxuang to come out and die, these disciples of Lin Mansion were naturally enraged. Chapter 2349, Jian Wuxuang and Xiong Yi in the air before the Lin Mansion's doors, a total of 8 figures stood upright. Other than Xiong Zong, the family head of Xiong family, and that burly old man, the remaining 6 were all wearing uniform golden robes. At the back of the golden robes and between their 2 sleeves, there was an embroidered picture of a small black cauldron. The small cauldron was the identifying symbol of the Golden Cauldron sect. Clearly, 6 of them were from the Golden Cauldron sect. Moreover, judging from the auras that were emanating from them, they were all chaotic divine demons. It was especially so for an ominous-looking young man with black hair and a bald man carrying a saber. The auras from the 2 of them overwhelmed everyone around. Without a doubt, they were second-grade divine demons. That ominous-looking young man with black hair was none other than Xiong Yi from the Xiong family. There are 2 second-grade divine demons. Jian Wuxuang and the other experts of Lin Mansion appeared before the mansion's door. Sensing the powerful auras of the 6 Golden Cauldron sect experts, many Lin Mansion experts paled. Even Jian Wuxuang furrowed his brows. If there was only 1 second-grade divine demon, he wouldn't be that worried. However, if both of them teamed up, he would probably be under pressure. Although the remaining 4 were third-grade divine demons, their auras weren't ordinary. Two of them weren't inferior to Lin Taifeng. Clearly, they were also the most elite third-grade divine demons. This lineup was extremely strong and it would be easy for them to sweep through any family in Anzhou Prefecture. This looks like trouble. Lin Taifeng was flabbergasted as he stared deadly at the 8 chaotic divine demons. Although he knew the answer, he still asked, Xiongzong, what does your Xiong family want? What do I want? He. Xiongzong replied with a cold smirk. Lin Taifeng, we will put aside the feud between our Xiong family and Lin Mansion. Today, we are here for him. Jian Wushuang. So you are Jian Wushuang? Xiong Yi's eyes were chilling as he turned to face Jian Wushuang. Yeah, I am. Jian Wushuang nodded indifferently. So you are the one who killed my sister? Intense killing intention showed in Xiong Yi's eyes. If you are speaking of the divine demon realm expert that I killed from the Xiong family, you are right. I killed her, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. How dare you kill my sister? If I can't break your bones and burn you to ashes today, then my name's not Xiong Yi. Xiong Yi screeched, overwhelmed with bloodlust. Xiong Yi. Fire Fairy took a step forward and said, there must be a misunderstanding here. Jian Wushuang is a distinguished guest of our Thunder Sound sect. Could you do my Thunder Sound sect a favor today? Do a favor for Thunder Sound sect. Ha! How hilarious. What's your Thunder Sound sect? Xiong Yi scoffed. Even if he's a core disciple of Thunder Sound sect or a disciple of some elders or sect leader, he will have to die since he killed my sister. Moreover, I know he isn't related to the Thunder Sound sect. Fire Fairy, step aside now. Otherwise, I'll kill you as well. Xiong Yi had been blinded by anger and wasn't afraid of Fire Fairy or the Thunder Sound sect behind her. This was important. Although Thunder Sound sect was a respectable sect, there was a huge difference between the Golden Cauldron sect and Thunder Sound sect. Xiong Yi was the enforcement elder of the Golden Cauldron sect. Why would he be bothered by the insignificant Fire Fairy? Fire Fairy's eyes turned icy cold. She took a glance at Jian Wushuang and remarked solemnly, Wushuang, I'm asking you for the last time. Are you willing to come to Thunder Sound sect with me? She had made up her mind. Once Jian Wushuang agreed, she would protect Jian Wushuang at all costs. However, if Jian Wushuang refused, she wouldn't want to be involved in this incident. I'm sorry. I'm not interested in the Thunder Sound sect for now. Jian Wushuang shook his head without even hesitating. All right then. You're on your own for now. Fire Fairy was enraged and no longer cared about Jian Wushuang's life and death. She stepped aside. I'm glad you know what's the best thing to do. Xiong Yi looked mockingly at Fire Fairy before turning to Jian Wushuang. Brat, speak now. How do you want to die? He. You think you can kill me? Jian Wushuang scoffed. Spare me the nonsense. If you want to kill me, just come for me. A total of 6 divine demon realm experts have come from your Golden Cauldron sect. Together with the 2 divine demon realm experts from Xiong family, you guys can come at the same time. At the same time? Those who heard him were shocked. Among the 8 chaotic divine demons, there were 2 second-grade divine demons, 2 elite third-grade divine demons and the remaining 4 weren't weak at all. Jian Wushuang wanted to take them all at the same time? Was he really that confident? Thanks. You aren't qualified for us to team up against you. I alone am enough to kill you. Xiong Yi snorted and charged towards Jian Wushuang. As for those around him, none of them moved. Regardless of if they were from the Xiong family or Golden Cauldron sect, they had absolute confidence in Xiong Yi. In their eyes, Xiong Yi was more than enough to kill Jian Wushuang. It was especially so for those from the Golden Cauldron sect. They could all see that Jian Wushuang was just at the chaotic realm. Although they had heard of Jian Wushuang's strength from Xiongzong personally, they were skeptical. After all, they had not witnessed it with their own eyes. In the air, Xiong Yi moved like a phantom. In an instant, he arrived before Jian Wushuang. At the same time, he clenched his fist and an explosive power gathered in his hand. This power had the attributes of lightning. All of a sudden, the fist went straight for Jian Wushuang. Terrifying strength exploded in that instant. Completely overwhelming strength. A second-grade divine demon wasn't just better than a third-grade divine demon in the aspect of rules of order. In terms of divine power, a second-grade divine demon's divine power was purer and denser. In terms of pure strength, a second-grade divine demon would have an absolute advantage. I wonder how much stronger a second-grade divine demon is compared to a third-grade divine demon. Jian Wushuang was curious as he swung his fist. Gathering pure divine power in his palm, he lunged ahead violently and his strength exploded violently. Two huge fists collided like two huge meteorites. Peng! Following a loud boom, ripples could be vaguely seen in the atmosphere. At the same time, everyone could hear the strong compression of energy. Immediately after, Jian Wushuang flew back like a cannonball. From the door of the Lin mansion, he barely stopped even after reaching the center of the Lin mansion. After stabilizing himself, Jian Wushuang took a glance at his right hand. He could feel pulses of pain in his arm and joints. As for Xiong Yi, he looked perfectly fine. A second-grade divine demon is indeed something. In terms of intensity of strength, he's way stronger than a third-grade divine demon, Jian Wushuang mumbled to himself. Chapter 2350. Hongjun Divine Rod. A meager early-stage chaotic realm can take a punch from me and survive. Your talents are indeed incredible. However, the shame is you did something you shouldn't have done and offended someone you couldn't afford to. Now die. Killing intent raged in Xiong Yi's eyes. The moment he finished his words, a dull gold rod surfaced before him. The dull gold rod was long and thin with a mysterious insignia imprinted on its body. This is... Jian Wushuang was surprised. He knew about the dull gold rod. He had even used it personally before, although it was just an imitation. Wang. The dull gold rod moved over a long distance and appeared before Jian Wushuang in a blink of an eye under the control of Xiong Yi's soul power. Immediately after, the dull gold rod was like a majestic and huge mountain that came smashing down on Jian Wushuang ferociously. The power encompassed within the rod was sufficient to throw an ordinary third-grade divine demon into despair. Jian Wushuang was also surprised but still swung out the Blood Mountain sword in his hand at the first moment. A unique sword intention swept across and the mixed element spirit was used. Dang! That dull gold rod clashed violently onto the Blood Mountain sword, sending terrifying force through the tremors of the Blood Mountain sword. Jian Wushuang staggered back and sank to the ground. However, Xiong Yi didn't just stop there. That dull gold rod grew rapidly before smashing down on Jian Wushuang relentlessly. Strike after strike, he wasn't going to allow Jian Wushuang to catch his breath. Jian Wushuang could only use his sword technique to withstand the relentless attack of the dull gold rod. However, there was a clear difference in strength since the beginning and the dull gold rod had an emphasis on absolute strength. Under these conditions, Jian Wushuang had a hard time withstanding the attacks. Dang! 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 The numerous violent clashes threw Jian Wushuang into a building within Lin Mansion, destroying everything in the process. However, Xiong Yi didn't just stop there. Die! Die! Xiong Yi's eyes had turned blood red. Brutality and craziness were gleaming in his eyes and he continued smashing down on Jian Wushuang with his dull gold rod. Terrifying explosions erupted and everyone could sense the immense power encompassed within the dull gold rod. Shuang. Nephew Wushuang, Zhuo Yunfeng and Lin Taifeng were flabbergasted. There was nothing they could do. The duo from the Xiong family and the remaining experts from the Golden Cauldron sect had intercepted them a long time ago. There was no way Zhuo Yunfeng and Lin Taifeng could find an opportunity to interrupt. Fire Fairy, is there something you can do? Asked Lin Taifeng. At this juncture, they could only hope the Thunder Sound sect could help Jian Wushuang. Lin family head, you should know about the circumstances of our Thunder Sound sect. We extended our invitation multiple times but Jian Wushuang chose to refuse each time. There's no reason for the Thunder Sound sect to step in. Moreover, even if our Thunder Sound sect were to step in at this juncture, it would be too late. The Golden Cauldron sect has sent 2 second-grade divine demons here. There's nothing I can do, Fire Fairy answered honestly. She really wanted to bring the absolute talent, Jian Wushuang, back to Thunder Sound sect. If Jen Wuxuang had accepted the invitation at the beginning, she would have tried her best to come up with something. It was a shame that Jen Wuxuang had chosen to reject her offer. Now that Jen Wuxuang was in a difficult situation and Xiongyi clearly wouldn't stop, she couldn't save Jen Wuxuang even if he agreed to join Thundersound sect. As such, the only feeling she had for him was pity. An unprecedented talent is going to be wasted here. Fire Fairy sighed emotionally. You can't really blame me for it. He's just too conceited. If he had chosen to join a sect earlier, he wouldn't be in this predicament. At this moment, the relentless attacks from the dull gold rod finally came to a halt. Xiongyi stood upright and had the dull gold rod beside him. He was looking down to the ground in front of him. At that place, the initial building, including the other structures around it, had been reduced to powder under his crushing divine power. The surface of the ground had been destroyed and replaced by a large pothole. The surface of the pothole wasn't smooth, clearly suggesting it wasn't caused by a single impact but continuous domineering strength. Everyone focused on the pothole. Is Jen Wuxuang dead? Many people had this thought in mind. Obviously, many were in shock. He's too strong. Is this the strength of a second-grade divine demon? A second-grade divine demon is way stronger than a third-grade divine demon. Jen Wuxuang could kill third-grade divine demon and would be considered really strong. However, the difference between a second-grade divine demon and him is still too huge. Many people were whispering and feeling a little despondent. They were sad to see a true demon-like genius meet his end here. Just as almost everyone was certain that Jen Wuxuang had fallen under the barrage of rod attacks. Rumble. Beneath the pothole, debris scattered fiercely and a figure rose from the bottom gradually. Soon, he was standing before Xiongyi again. How can this be possible? Staring at Jen Wuxuang, Xiongyi was in disbelief. To take revenge for his sister, he was seething with killing intent. Previously, he had gone all out and had maximized the power in each relentless attack. Under such terrifying attacks, even if he managed to survive, Jen Wuxuang should at least be severely injured. However, the current Jen Wuxuang looked a little wretched with some blood at the edge of his mouth, but his aura had not seemed to weaken at all. Clearly, he had not sustained considerable injuries during the relentless barrage of attacks. The surrounding crowd was equally astounded. In their eyes, even a third-grade divine demon's self-defense mechanism would have given way under that barrage of attacks. However, Jen Wuxuang was just an early-stage chaotic realm. Not only had he survived, he had only sustained light injuries. What they didn't know was that although Xiongyi's attacks were strong, the true impact of them that reached Jen Wuxuang was limited. Together with Jen Wuxuang's self-defense mechanism, his holy body was way above the level of an ordinary third-grade divine demon even without wearing armor. How could the holy body of a perfect chaotic lifeform be so easily damaged after mastering the first scroll of the immemorial celestial body? If I'm not mistaken, you are using the Hongjun divine rod. Jen Wuxuang was staring at Xiongyi, or more accurately, the dull gold rod before him. The Hongjun divine rod was a weapon that shared the same fame as the Hongjun golden swords. They could be manipulated with soul power. In his previous life, Jen Wuxuang had encountered Long Qi in the 8th layer. From Long Qi, he had obtained an imitation of Hongjun golden swords. At that time, in order for him to master the Hongjun golden swords, Long Qi had given him the imitation Hongjun golden swords to practice with. Chapter 2351, Restraint. The Hongjun divine rod emphasized power. It was domineering and extremely powerful. As for Hongjun golden swords, they focused on speed. When combined with space-time rules of order, their movements would be unpredictable and extremely creepy. They were similarly made weapons but their natures were completely different. In his previous life, Jen Wuxuang had killed many experts by manipulating the Hongjun golden swords. And now, the first second-grade divine demon that he had encountered was able to use the Hongjun divine rod. Looks like I have underestimated you. It doesn't matter though. You are still going to die. Die. Xiongyi's voice was icy cold and the dullish gold long rod before him shot out once again. When I got reincarnated, I lost all my treasures, including the Hongjun golden swords. Otherwise, I could try using them against the Hongjun divine rod, Jian Wushuang mumbled to himself. Seeing the dullish gold long rod striking towards him once again, he was fearless. Boom! The imposing figure of the rod was like the tail of a serpent dragon that swept onto Jian Wushuang's body directly. However, it didn't hit anything material. Clearly, this was just an illusion that Jian Wushuang had left behind after grasping the spacetime rules of order. As for the real Jian Wushuang, he had moved away like a phantom. Wang! Just like a phantom, Jian Wushuang covered a long distance and appeared before Xiongyi suddenly. His speed, Xiongyi was astounded and wanted to pull back the Hongjun divine rod to defend himself. Will you make it on time? Jian Wushuang scoffed, thrusting his Blood Mountain sword forward. Although the Hongjun divine rod was extremely powerful, it was ordinary in terms of speed and agility. These were its weaknesses. Jian Wushuang had once practiced with an imitation of a Hongjun divine rod. Therefore, he knew about these weaknesses. When manipulating the Hongjun divine rod, Xiongyi would never reach the level of agility that Jian Wushuang had had with the Hongjun golden swords. Considering these circumstances and the fact that Jian Wushuang had grasped the spacetime rules of order, his advantage in speed and agility was more prominent. Wang! The chilling sword light pierced towards Xiongyi's throat, and Xiongyi clearly couldn't pull back his Hongjun divine rod in time to block the attack. However, at this very moment, Xiongyi shouted and flexed. Immediately after, a blurry wall of energy coalesced before him. This wall was shockingly made up of his soul power. The Hongjun divine rod had to be used with one's soul power and one's understanding of rod principle to release the greatest might. Since Xiongyi could manipulate the Hongjun divine rod to attack, he naturally specialized in the aspect of soul attack. Now, his soul power had quickly gathered to form a headless giant carrying a toothed mace. As it shouted, it smashed towards Jian Wushuang furiously. Following a loud crash, Jian Wushuang's sword strike was neutralized. At the same time, an incredible soul power swept towards Jian Wushuang's soul. However, Jian Wushuang's consciousness sea was guarded by a black exquisite pagoda. The soul power couldn't shake the exquisite pagoda by the slightest. A meager chaotic realm is so tough in the aspect of the soul as well. Xiongyi furrowed his brows and pointed his finger at Jian Wushuang. Go! The returning Hongjun divine rod smashed towards Jian Wushuang once again. At the same time, the headless giant that had been formed from soul power also charged towards Jian Wushuang with the toothed mace. As for Xiongyi, he kept his eyes on Jian Wushuang. He was ready to release a soul attack at any moment to exert pressure on Jian Wushuang. However, Jian Wushuang was simply too fast. The Hongjun divine rod couldn't even catch the corners of Jian Wushuang's clothes. As for the headless giant, Jian Wushuang could easily make his way around it as well. Jian Wushuang could choose to appear before Xiongyi and engage in close combat with him. If Jian Wushuang had not successfully created the exquisite pagoda, Xiongyi's soul attack might still have been a threat to Jian Wushuang. As for now, he couldn't shake the exquisite pagoda even a little if his soul attack was compelling. In other words, Xiongyi's three greatest tricks. The Hongjun divine rod, the headless giant formed from soul power, and his soul attacks were completely ineffective against Jian Wushuang. As for Jian Wushuang, he was a huge threat to Xiongyi with his incredible sword technique. Xiu, xiu, xiu. Several rays of sword light were launched constantly. Jian Wushuang was now totally engaged in battle. Although Xiongyi was a second-grade divine demon, he wasn't well versed in close combat fighting skills. All of a sudden, he was being pushed back by Jian Wushuang. He gave his all to continue driving the Hongjun divine rod and releasing soul attacks. However, they weren't doing anything to Jian Wushuang at all. This was, in fact, the weakness of an expert specializing in soul attack. For an ordinary expert that specialized in the soul, they could only choose to flee if their soul attack couldn't threaten the other party. Xiongyi was in fact really strong. His soul could be used to attack or defend and could be considered to be close to perfection. Even if he was facing a second-grade divine demon, he could exert considerable pressure with the might of the Hongjun Divine Rod and the combination of the Headless Giant and soul attacks. For most ordinary second-grade divine demons, they could only flee in defeat. However, he happened to be fighting Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was too fast and could completely ignore the Hongjun Golden Rod and the Headless Giant. He also had a strong soul defense and wasn't afraid of Xiong Yi's soul attack at all. More importantly, Jian Wushuang's close combat ability and sword principle were simply too frightening. As a second-grade divine demon, Xiong Yi had some level of skill in close combat fighting. Moreover, the intensity of his power was a lot greater than Jian Wushuang. Logically speaking, he should have the upper hand. However, the reality indicated otherwise. Jian Wushuang was almost completely overwhelming him in close combat fighting. How can this be? I'm completely suppressed by Jian Wushuang. My soul attack can't do anything to him. Xiong Yi's expression darkened. Previously, he had had no regard for Jian Wushuang at all. Even though Jian Wushuang had killed 2 chaotic divine demons, they had only been third-grade divine demons and there was a huge difference. Now that he was fighting Jian Wushuang personally, he found Jian Wushuang to still be miles from him. Yet, Jian Wushuang was completely countering him. His attacks were rendered useless before Jian Wushuang. While he was completely overwhelmed by Jian Wushuang's close combat abilities, around the battlefield, the numerous experts from Lin Mansion were completely dumbstruck. A second-grade divine demon is getting suppressed. What is this? Wasn't he enjoying a huge advantage previously? Why do I feel that Xiong Yi has become a lot weaker suddenly? Most of the experts in Lin Mansion were weak and couldn't understand the reason. However, a few divine demon realm experts were aware. It wasn't that Xiong Yi had become weaker. Instead, Jian Wushuang was completely countering him, rendering Xiong Yi's various attacks completely useless. Chapter 2352, Increase in Cultivation Realm. In the air above Lin Mansion, a few chaotic divine demons from Golden Cauldron sect were standing in a row. At this moment, they weren't looking great. Although junior brother Xiong Yi's soul attack is extremely powerful and could be used for both attacking and defending, the rules of order he has grasped is inclined towards the steady and heavy earth rules of order. He shouldn't have any issue in attacking or defending. However, he is still lacking in speed and agility. If he encounters someone who specializes in speed and has a great soul defense, he might very well lose in battle. Just like we are seeing, Jian Wushuang clearly hasn't reached the level of a second-grade divine demon. Yet, he is still able to suppress junior brother Xiong Yi, said the bald man carrying a saber. Senior brother Chen Yuan, we have to think of a solution soon. If we let this carry on, senior brother Xiong Yi will be defeated. If a second-grade divine demon loses to an early-stage chaotic realm, it will be a great humiliation. Moreover, this might be a blow to senior brother Xiong Yi's mentality and affect his future growth, a Golden Cauldron sect expert added. I know. That bald man nodded and his eyes turned chillingly cold. Forget it. I'll kill Jian Wushuang personally. Senior brother Chen Yuan, the other experts from Golden Cauldron sect looked over. However, Chen Yuan had already bolted off towards the battlefield before him. In the middle of the battlefield, Jian Wushuang was in a heated battle with Xiong Yi. Jian Wushuang was casually executing his sword technique. Even so, he was forcing Xiong Yi back constantly. I thought the second-grade divine demon, Xiong Yi, could force me to use some of my hidden tricks. It seems like I overestimated him. Jian Wushuang shook his head and smiled. As for Xiong Yi, his face had turned red. He struggled to counterattack and had tried several times. Yet, it was completely pointless. All of a sudden, boom! A terrifying aura descended violently. This aura was also at the level of a second-grade divine demon but slightly stronger than Xiong Yi's. Jian Wushuang instantly understood that the other second-grade divine demon from the Golden Cauldron sect that came with Xiong Yi had stepped in. His vast aura had Jian Wushuang completely surrounded. Immediately after, the bald man appeared behind Jian Wushuang and swung his saber at him. His saber was coated in blazing flames. As the saber swung, the world was swallowed in flames. More importantly, he released 7 attacks in a single instant. The 7 attacks were released almost at the same time and each strike was extremely domineering. Sensing the threat behind him, Jian Wushuang turned around immediately. A unique sword intention was released and his body seemed morph into a huge vortex capable of devouring heaven and earth. Sword Principle Xian Luo, Mixed Element Spirit. Dang. 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 7 intense clashes reverberated across the atmosphere. After each clash, Jian Wushuang could feel his arm going a little more numb. After 7 strikes, Jian Wushuang was sent flying. This strength is even greater than Xiong Yi. Xiong Yi specialized in soul attacks and manipulating the Hong Jun Divine Rod from a distance to launch his attack. However, this bald man probably specializes in close combat. His saber skills are like blazing flames and are truly incredible. Jian Wushuang looked over once he had stabilized himself. Senior brother Chen Yuan. Xiong Yi appeared beside Chen Yuan and greeted him. Junior brother Xiong Yi, let's team up and kill him. Chen Yuan got straight to the point. Team up. Xiong Yi furrowed his brows. He would rather kill Jian Wushuang personally to avenge his sister. However, after the previous battle, he could tell he couldn't kill Jian Wushuang in a solo battle. In fact, Jian Wushuang could even defeat him. If that were the case. All right. Xiong Yi nodded solemnly. The surrounding crowd from Lin family were flabbergasted to witness it. Scumbags. 2nd grade divine demon teaming up against an early stage chaotic realm. Since when did the people from Golden Cauldron sect become so shameless? Lin Taifeng berated. Shuang. Zhuo Yunfeng stared deadly at Jian Wushuang. He could tell the current Jian Wushuang wasn't feeling any fear or trepidation. Instead, he was still as calm and composed as ever. If this had happened in the past, he would definitely have been extremely anxious even if Jian Wushuang displayed the same composure. However, if Shuang is really what Xinqin guessed and is reincarnated from a supreme expert, the current crisis before him really won't amount to anything. Let's hope this is the case. Zhuo Yunfeng could only pray in his heart. Even Lin Taifeng and other divine demon realm experts couldn't interfere in the battle. He was just a half-step divine demon and the one facing the danger was his son. There was nothing he could do to help. Nonetheless, Zhuo Yunfeng had got it right. The current Jian Wushuang was fearless. So what if there were 2 2nd-grade divine demons? This will make things a little more interesting. Jian Wushuang chuckled and wiggled his index finger to taunt Chen Yuan and Xiong Yi. Both of you. Show me what you've got. Preposterous. Xiong Yi was infuriated. Brat, you are too brazen. Chen Yuan was also a little enraged. He glanced at Xiong Yi, who was next to him, and said, Junior brother Xiong Yi, let's go with the coordination that we used in that perilous land previously. All right, Xiong Yi nodded his head. Whoosh. Whoosh. Chen Yuan and Xiong Yi moved at the same time. Chen Yuan charged towards Jian Wushuang while Xiong Yi retreated further back. However, as he retreated, he controlled his Hong Jun Divine Rod to strike Jian Wushuang with compelling might. One close and one far. One is specialized in close combat fighting while the other controls the Hong Jun Divine Rod from a distance while using a soul attack to complement each other. With 2 2nd-grade divine demon teaming up and cooperating, it seems like I will have to use some of my trick. In the next instant, star power gushed out from Jian Wushuang's body. His star power had long fused into his divine power and bloodline. Now that he was triggering them, his divine power was morphing instantly. What others could sense was that the aura around Jian Wushuang had become visibly stronger. Previously, he had been at the level of an early-stage chaotic realm or, at the very most, the peak early-stage chaotic realm. Now, his aura was rising rapidly to the middle-stage chaotic realm. From that point, he grew a little stronger before stopping. From early-stage chaotic realm to middle-stage chaotic realm. So the first scroll of the secret skill of 7-star can raise half a cultivation realm? This feels pretty good. Jian Wushuang clenched his fist and revealed a sinister smile. Chapter 2353, One Close, The secret skill of 7-star could increase one's cultivation realm. Although Jian Wushuang had only mastered the first scroll, it allowed anyone below the Undying Saint to raise their cultivation realm by half a level. One shouldn't underestimate this half a level, as it was extremely important to a cultivator. For example, Jian Wushuang was an early-stage chaotic realm initially. After the increment, he would be at the middle-stage chaotic realm. This advancement was a material improvement to Jian Wushuang's strength. At the very least, he was a lot stronger in the aspects of power and strength. Previously, even with the immemorial celestial body, I was still far from an ordinary third-grade divine demon in terms of power and strength. However, the current me won't be any weaker than an ordinary third-grade divine demon now that I've reached middle-stage chaotic realm. In fact, I'll be considered extremely strong among third-grade divine demons. Jian Wushuang smiled. Regardless of his understanding in sword principle, sword technique, or grasp over rules of order, he was way stronger than a second-grade divine demon. However, his only weakness was the stark difference in his power and strength. Now, with the help of secret skill of 7-star, his cultivation realm had been raised and his power and strength were extensively increased. Although he was still slightly inferior to a second-grade divine demon, the difference was no longer that huge. Let me see how strong a second-grade divine demon really is. Jian Wushuang laughed out loud and his body started flickering. He darted forward and charged towards Chen Yuan. Chen Yuan had been locked onto Jian Wushuang all along. When Jian Wushuang's aura strengthened, he noticed it as well. His aura strengthened, and by a huge amount to the middle stage chaotic realm. This isn't a breakthrough. It's probably due to him casting some unique secret skills. Chen Yuan furrowed his brows. A secret skill that could temporarily increase his cultivation realm? This was uncommon in the entire Wuxia Baron region, let alone Golden Cauldron sect. This brat must be harboring some huge secrets. Chen Yuan confirmed his thoughts. In the blink of an eye, Jian Wushuang clashed with Chen Yuan. Chen Yuan held his saber with both hands and his saber skills were scorching like fireballs. Once he swung his saber, the terrifying might was enough to plunge a third-grade divine demon in despair. However, Jian Wushuang was fearless. When Chen Yuan swung his saber, he did the same with his Blood Mountain sword. The moment he did, a strong gust of wind swept across. Sword Principal Xian Luo, Blast Rainstorm, die now. Chen Yuan responded with a scoff. He was a second-grade divine demon and specialized in close combat fighting. Although Jian Wushuang had an extremely high understanding of space-time rules of order and was oddly quick, he was completely inferior in terms of strength and power. Now, Jian Wushuang chose not to dodge Chen Yuan's domineering strike and relied on his superior speed to pester Chen Yun. Instead, he foolishly tried to clash directly with his sword technique. If this wasn't courting his own death, what was it? However, the moment both of them clashed. What? Chen Yuan was shocked. He could feel a power that was not inferior to his encompassed within Jian Wushuang's sword. Indeed, the power of the strike wasn't any weaker than his. Perhaps he was not a match in the aspect of basic strength. However, Jian Wushuang's technique included his understanding of rules of order, which greatly enhanced the power of his sword techniques. Now, he could face Chen Yuan directly. There's nothing impressive about the strength and power of a second-grade divine demon after all. Jian Wushuang grinned. Thanks. Chen Yuan snorted and swung out his saber 3 consecutive times. 3 scorching hot saber lights slashed out instantly. Ludicrous. Jian Wushuang sneered and swung out 3 sword lights as well. They were ordinary strikes. However, with his understanding of sword principle and application of rules of order, their might was enhanced exponentially. Dang! 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 3 consecutive clashes pushed Jian Wushuang and Chen Yuan several steps back. However, before Jian Wushuang could stabilize himself, a powerful soul attack swept through his mind. This soul attack had probably been accumulated by Xiong Yi for some time before being released in one go. As a result, it had some effects on the exquisite pagoda within Jian Wushuang's consciousness sea. The exquisite pagoda shook a little but quickly recovered. Jian Wushuang's consciousness wasn't affected greatly. Wang. A giant dullish gold rod descended from the sky with overwhelming momentum, seemingly aiming to decimate Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's figure flickered and the dullish gold rod pierced through his body without even touching the edges of his clothes. He is much faster than before. Xiong Yi frowned. He didn't realize that the increment in the cultivation realm wasn't just limited to strength and power. Jian Wushuang's speed had changed accordingly as well. Jian Wushuang, take this strike from me. A deafening scream erupted. Unknowingly, Chen Yuan had raised the saber in his hand. His saber had turned entirely red and its surroundings seemed to be shrouded in a layer of scorching hot flames. The aura around him bubbled and even his hair was blown up as the fire raged. Bloodfire style. Boom. Terrifying saber light descended all of a sudden. That saber light was blood red and opened up a giant river of blades instantly. As the river of blades swept across in a frenzy, the area it crossed was set ablaze. A giant sea of flames was formed instantly. Within the sea of flames, a flaming saber that spanned over 1,000 feet slashed furiously towards Jian Wushuang. The power in this strike is pretty impressive. Staring at the approaching flaming saber, Jian Wushuang became a little more serious. Immediately after, he thrust his sword forward. This strike looked ordinary and seemed devoid of all strength. However, when the edge of the sword pierced into the air, reincarnation power started spreading. Samsara. Wang. When the edge of the sword clashed with the flaming saber, none of the power spread to the surrounding area. At the moment of contact, the flames on the flaming saber began dissipating at an unbelievable speed. In just moments, the flaming saber was reduced to the most foundational divine power and saber essence. The strongest strike from Chen Yuan had been easily neutralized. As for Jian Wushuang's strike that carried the force of samsara, it continued lunging forward. Fut! The edge of the sword landed on Chen Yuan's holy body. Chen Yuan's self-defense mechanism was pretty impressive. Furthermore, the power behind the sword light had declined extensively after obliterating the flaming saber. This strike only just pierced Chen Yuan's body and didn't do much damage to Chen Yuan. However, Chen Yuan was shocked. How can this be? His strike. Chen Yuan couldn't understand what had happened in the previous strike. How had Jian Wushuang obliterated his flaming saber with a single strike? You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,